All right, so this is Eric, and I'm coming to you live from Wheels of Time in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, and we just got done viewing the collection here, and it was just amazing. 7,000? No, I'm trying to remember how many thousand square feet they said. It's huge. I want to say it's 7,000 square feet, but it's probably more than that. Just hundreds and hundreds of bikes. The things that sticks out to you really when you kind of are finished going through it is it's hard to actually even remember individual bikes, because there's just so many that are so rare and kind of unique and one of a kinds, and one of 10s and one of 20s, and it was just really special. I think the bike to me that was the coolest, and it was mostly just because of the look of it, was the Pierce Arrow, and I'll lay a photo in here over the top of it. But the Pierce Arrow was a bike that just has a look before its time. It was low and sleek and long looking, and had a 4-cylinder engine, and it was great. And I like the 4-cylinder Hendersons too, but I think that was the one bike that stuck out in my mind. I'm here with Kent and Ebel and Jason, and they're going to kind of share some of their thoughts as well.
Hey, Wyatt's from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Jason, so what was the best thing that you saw today?
I would say if you're a World War II guy, their World War II collection was huge. I mean, they had a really good, not just the bikes. I mean, they even had some of the uniform stuff in there. They had some of the gear that they had. I mean, just a good background about that. It was pretty amazing.
Well, I thought the really cool thing about that was that they had a bunch of restored bikes and completed running bikes, but the amount of parts that they had sitting over there was just unbelievable.
It was crazy. And then they even had a mock-up shop of what the old shops looked like, of how they worked on these bikes. I was very impressed. I thought it was going to be a quarter of the size, and it was just huge. It was a really good place.
Yeah. And if you watched the Harley Davidson special that was on TV a month or two ago, one of the things at the end that kind of got Harley Davidson that military contract was they offered to put on a free quartermaster school so that all the guys in the field could learn how to maintain the bikes. And I noticed hanging up above that section they had the huge Harley Davidson quartermaster school sign. I thought that was pretty cool too.
That was one of the cool things in the video watching there about how they had to start the bikes differently. I mean, everybody had there's a little bit of special knob you had to turn, you had to release the compression. I thought that was pretty cool too, just seeing some of that stuff.
Yeah, the engineering kind of, some of the stuff that stayed the same and other stuff that has just advanced tremendously in the amount of time. So yeah, it was cool stuff. All right, Kent, what do you like?
Well, I like the racing bikes. I'm not really a motorcycle racer, but the vintage motorcycle racing bikes and how they evolved over time. They also had a lot of pictures of guys who rode those specific bikes 40, 50 years ago, and the posters for the races. That was pretty cool. And again, the World War II stuff was pretty interesting, just to see how they integrated motorcycles into the war effort. So
yeah. The other one that I noticed over there that they said was like a prototype was that big 3-wheel that had like tractor tires on it.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool looking too, kind of go anywhere kind of a bike. But I think kind of to hit on your point about the racing bikes and the stories of the racers, the amount of documentation that they have on a lot of this stuff is just, it's not just looking at the bike, it's the story behind the bike, right? And the original paperwork from the time that makes it all kind of hit home and personalize it. This isn't a bike, this was somebody's bike, and this is what they did with it. And this is kind of the history of
even to the point where their helmets and their riding gear, all that stuff is here. Which is pretty interesting. I'd highly recommend a visit here. It's very, very interesting and well worth your time.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about the map thing, and Jason was mentioning that one of the pins on the map was Jay Leno. One of the employees was telling you a story about Leno.
Just reading the article about it, the owner here, talked about it wasn't just Leno showing up. It was Leno just meeting and greeting all the customers, just like one of the regular guys, you know. And he was really interested about the history of the motorcycles and talked about them. And I thought it was a really cool story they had. Just, you know, Leno and how he's, you know, everybody who knows Jay Leno. He's a big motorcycle and car guy, and that was Dale here, one of his passions. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would have loved to meet Jay. From everything I've heard, he's just like a regular guy when you meet him. You know, and he's just a treasure trove of information. So, Nebo, what was your favorite bike?
I didn't really have a favorite bike. I think they were all wonderful. I mean, it was just beyond me. I mean, I'm still absorbing everything in there, and there's no way I'm even going to remember probably one or two of those bikes. But I think the coolest thing was that the owner of the Wheels of Time Museum actually came to us and actually showed us some of the rarest bikes, and one of them was the Henderson one, his personal private bike, and he actually turned it on like it was no big deal, and like it was a bike of just today, and it was just amazing.
So talk about that whole section of bikes.
The whole section there where he showed us was all the unique bikes. I can't remember the other three unique bikes, but it was all bikes of the person. Dayton was one of them. Dayton was one of them. The personal owner's bike of Dayton Motorcycles also was in that section. And there's a couple more that were just hard to remember. There's so much
So
information.
there are 20s and 30s bikes that were personal bikes of the owners of those companies
Who built them?
manufactured.
Yep.
Right? And I think that's the other thing. Dale was outside when we first came in, and kind of I bumped a little elbow with him, and he's out in the museum talking to guys. And they have several of the employees here that are walking around. You know, do you have questions? And just trying to make people kind of have that connection with the bikes. But one thing I will tell you is, if you come here, don't touch the bikes, right, Aniba?
Don't touch the bikes.
What
just,
happened?
Just 2 feet within coming in the entrance, gentleman was just slightly leaning on his seat and with his shirt touching a handlebar. And actually, he didn't say anything. He gave him the opportunity, but when he came and touched another rare bike of over $200,000, he scolded him as politely as he could. I gotta say, the gentleman, Dale, did excellent considering the situation of the rarity of the bike. So don't touch
The cool thing
bikes.
about it though is you know, he did give him a scolding, but he goes, "Let me start it up for you too," and then
Yeah.
kind of showed him the workings of the bike too, and told him how much it was. And
Yeah, he was still polite about everything. Still polite, but
We
he'll
haven't
definitely
seen him
let you
since,
know.
though. We
yeah.
haven't seen him since.
Yeah, we don't see him with the
I don't know where
gentleman.
that guy
but-
went.
But I think the time we were here, right? We were here about 2 hours. They started up what, 4 bikes, 5 bikes?
Yeah.
That you can kind of.
Hot
And
rod.
when they start those up, everybody obviously rushes over there and they want to hear the stories, and it's really
Post-
cool.
I'll give you we got a video of him starting that bike. We'll put it
Awesome.
up
So
on
we'll
your
post that
website.
up on
Yeah,
there.
It's pretty cool.
And the other thing I
Henderson,
think
yeah.
that was, I think Aniba mentioned to me earlier, he was kind of sitting around. They've got a lot of videos kind of from the TV show running, but in that section where you were sitting, there was a huge like magazine line.
Yeah,
right?
there was a large magazine rack, and all these bikes were probably built before me. But it was interesting because they had magazines from when I started getting into motorcycles, which was the early 90s, and many of them I had read, like Cycle World and Sport Rider and such. So that was really interesting how they encompassed every detail, from posters, helmets, the mechanics, turning on the bikes, all the employees engaging with us. It was phenomenal.
Right. Anybody else have anything else? you
Yeah, we
wanna
can't
add?
forget about the old Schwinn's there. If you were in the second floor of this place, it's got the old bicycles, you know,
I have a
from the
picture of
60s
those
and 70s.
with
Yeah.
the banana seats.
Yeah,
and
with
all.
the
I have a picture
banana
of that.
seats, yeah, those are
Schwinn,
pretty cool to see.
And the other thing, if you didn't know, right, Schwinn bought Excelsior, right, and ran
Yep.
that company for 3 or 4 years before they closed the door. So Schwinn and Excelsior are kind of tightly matched. Another TV show, if you watch American Pickers, he's always out because he's a bicycle guy
Yeah.
and a motorcycle guy. They're always looking for that kind of pre-Schwinn Excelsior stuff. It's really
Yeah,
rare.
it was pretty cool to just see some of that.
The staging of all the stuff was pretty unique. It wasn't just an empty warehouse with bikes and signs. It was all staged in vintage scenery.
They try to put bikes kind of in the
the-
era that they belong
Exactly.
to recreate that
The
look.
signs and what people wore at the time, and
There's leathers everywhere and helmets kind of hanging around.
the advertisement of the day was all.
And then they had a whole
Pretty cool.
section that was kind of like offshoots of motorcycle stuff, right? Where guys took motorcycle engines and turned them into snowmobiles and airplanes
Yeah.
and little go-karts and rototillers and
In
all
the-
kinds of stuff.
in
An
the-
ice sawing machine.
Also in the foyer, there's a Indian boat motor.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool. I got a picture of that. I'll give it to you.
cool.
Never knew they made a boat motor.
All right, so if you can't tell, we were pretty stoked about the Wheels of Time Museum. It was something actually we kind of debated, did we want to come here or not, or kind of go do another ride, and we ended up coming here, and well worth your time, guys. If you have the chance, You know, it's 15 bucks, and well worth every penny. If they doubled the price, it would be worth it. So if you get a chance to come down to Maggie Valley, come out and check out the Wheels of Time Museum. Everybody else, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and follow us on Facebook, and we'll keep videos just like this coming your way. Thanks.
Down the street, will you take me to get something?